Okay, so my town is very quaint and not much happens. Anyways, when I'm home alone, especially when it's dark, I leave the lights on. So I was doing what any normal girl my age would do when she's home alone. Listen to music and have a dance party. I was just chilling, listening to music loud as hell when I heard the screen door open. I kinda expected it to be one of my grandparents or my mom. So I called out for any of them. Unfortunately, it wasn't any of them. I quietly freaked out and I realized I had a big ass piece of wood near me. I picked it up and screamed, "Who the hell is it?" No reply. I realized I either called the police or I did this on my own. I decided I wouldn't call the police because if this person heard me, they could do anything really, which was more than likely their plan. So I walked out clutching the piece of wood as if it were a baseball bat. Keep in mind, I was in softball most of my life, and I took 1 or 2 karate classes. I was freaking out, but outside I knew I looked scary as fuck. First, my knuckles were a bit bloody from a week ago, and I looked fucking demented. I was just plain scary looking. But anyways, I walked out and said, "You better get out of here before I fucking kill or knock you the fuck out, you bastard." No response, which fucking scared me. I darted to my closet, which was right next to the back door. I ran and picked my bat up and threw the wood down. I turned around to see a tall man standing there. He smiled, and I swung with all my might. I hit him in the groin and took this chance to run to my neighbor's house, which was a good 10 or 20 feet away. I knocked on their door and realized nobody was home. The man was running and screamed, "Get back here!" I fucking ran as fast as I could to the police station, which was a good few blocks away, and the streets were very busy. Most people were heading home from the store and such. I got to the police station and explained to them what happened and that he was following me. They didn't believe me because he wasn't there. But they told me I could stay there until someone was home. Crazy burglar. Let's not meet again. Last night, while working, my girlfriend and I saw a strange man multiple times in multiple locations. I have a delivery company and make night deliveries often. My girlfriend comes along some nights, so she's not home alone and to help me out. We often see drunks and prostitutes and after-party people out and about, but this guy was different. We got to a gas station about 3 a.m. to drop off some items for them. The station is closed, but they have a drop box for me. When we arrived, I noticed a car moving very slowly along the highway, about maybe 5 miles per hour on a 70 miles per hour highway. I turned into the station, and as I parked, I noticed the car pulled in as well, slowly creeping up to the gas pumps. The car was a silver car, maybe a late 19s model, looked like a Cadillac or something similar. On the driver's door, it had 3 numbers stuck on it, 542, I think, in those mailbox address numbers. I thought to myself, no big deal, just a drunk getting gas. He got out, opened his tank, and put the nozzle in, all the while staring at me. This wouldn't be a problem except he was faking getting gas. This station turns their pumps off at night. He stood pretending to fill up the whole while I was there, about 5 to 10 minutes. He was a black male, tall and skinny, wearing an old 80s looking suit, dark colored, a white fedora with a dark colored band. I'm a big guy, 6'2", 220 pounds, strong and imposing. However, this guy didn't seem affected or bothered at all. He just stared. Then he walked around this car and stood on the passenger side staring at me. I didn't even see him at first, but I finished my work, began to drive off around the corner. On the back side I saw the car, 542 on the side, and there he was, leaning against the building with a cigarette. He turned and faced me and stared. My girlfriend was getting anxious now. This area is a low-population rural area, and there's no reason for this guy to be hanging out at these places, and now he's at 2 different ones I go to. I tell her not to worry, he's just some idiot who doesn't want to go home. I go about my business, keeping an eye out for him, and do my next 3 stops until suddenly, at the 4th, there it is, 542, parked outside of a closed business. Mind you, this is miles away. This time, he's sitting on my drop box. This looked like a message. I've had enough at this point. My girlfriend tells me to just leave and come back later, but I'm beyond that at this point. I used to do contract security. I'm not afraid of some conflict, and I'm not a pushover. So I scan the area, make sure he doesn't have any friends around, and I get out. He just stares. I say, "Listen, I don't know what you're trying to do, but I've seen you more than I should have tonight. Now you're on my box and blocking my work. You need to leave. Now." He just stares, but I'm not budging. He's messing with my money now, and that doesn't work. I say, "You're not cute. You're asking for trouble. Now get the hell off my box and get out of here." He stands, but stays in my way and stares. I'm this close to just punching him in the face at this point, until I see his eyes widen and he gets in his car and drives off. I then realize 2 police officers pulled into the lot. I assumed to see what they were doing or talk. One followed him as he drove away. The other asked me if everything was okay. They know me out there as they see me nightly. I told him what happened, and he said they were looking for him as he has been menacing people like that often. I don't know if he's done anything to anyone yet, but at least they found him now. I recently got into contact with a childhood friend who reminded me of a particular weird incident that happened to us. School had just ended, so my friends and I were taking usual route home, which had a car dealership, some houses, and a church along the way. The church always seemed to be empty. I frequently walked my dog around the area out for the 4 years I lived there. I've never seen anyone go in or out. Anyways, as we approached the church, we noticed a table with 2 men sitting behind it. They called us over, and one of my friends, out of a group of 5 including myself, decided to dumbly wander over to them instead of ignoring them like we normally would have done. They began to ask us questions, focusing on the 3 girls more than the remaining boys. They were young, probably in their early 20s, very charismatic. They asked us how old we were, where we lived, and whether or not we went to this church. After a bit of a conversation, they learned that I lived closest to the church, and so they focused on me, which seemed somewhat odd to me. You would think they'd be happy enough to get anyone to come to the church. 2 of my friends had wandered off to a store not too far, so it was just a boy, another female, and myself. At this point, the 2 men had ignored my friends altogether. Apparently, they were trying to get younger people to join their youth group. Mind you, they had no flyers, nothing signifying that they actually worked for the church. They were dressed casually with a cooler nearby. At the time, this didn't raise any red flags. They zoned in on me. The younger one began to flirt with me, complimenting me, going on to say how great it would be to see me at the youth group. He said that the people who attended were really good people and I'd have tons of fun, and they were about to start soon. I had no intention of going, but went along with it just to be polite, saying that I had to get home to change or something along those lines. Before we left, he pulled out a bottle of Coke from the cooler. He handed it to me with a smile and really invaded my personal space. "It starts in a few minutes. I hope you can make it to the meeting," he shouts as my friends and I quickly walked off. My friends and I stood in front of my house for a little while, chatting and joking around, completely forgetting about what had just occurred, brushing it off as just eccentric church recruiters. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure at the end of the street. I had just assumed it was another student walking by to their home. I came to learn that it wasn't. Once my friends had said their goodbyes, I walked into my home and went straight for the kitchen as most kids do once they get home. I made a snack and decided to drink the Coke I was so graciously given. 20 minutes later, I didn't feel too good, so I sat on the couch and hoped it'd go away. At the time, I was suffering from chronic migraines, so I assumed it was due to that. I remember feeling a wave of drowsiness crash over me, but nothing else after that. According to my mother, she tried repeatedly to wake me up to no avail. I'm not a heavy sleeper. Any little noise tends to wake me up, but not this time. I had apparently fallen asleep around 3 in the afternoon, and I didn't wake up until 12 in the afternoon the next day. At that, I didn't feel good at all. I was sweating, felt woozy, and couldn't bring myself to move for a little while. I can't say for sure that I was drugged or anything like that, but what struck me as odd was that my mom had also said that a young white guy had come to look for me about an hour after I had fallen asleep, claiming that I was a friend that wanted to see if I could hang out. I don't know what their intentions were, or if they were actually representing the church, but shady church recruiters, let's not meet. Just found the subreddit and thought to post this. If just as a stark reminder to never open the door when you're home alone unless you see or hear who it is and know exactly who they are. Even if they seem like a harmless door-to-door salesman or whatever. This happened to my mom a long time ago, when I was in kindergarten or just before. I actually totally forgot about it, despite it being the most terrifying moment of my childhood, until one day, my mom mentioned it to an older sibling who wasn't there, saying that that's why she always tells us, as adults, to never open the door for strangers unless our mom and dad are home. Not even a bit to talk to them. One day, while me, my younger sister, and mom were at home, some man came knocking on the door. At this house, the door had no windows or peeping hole, and it wasn't easy to see who it was there. This wasn't a bad neighborhood at all, smack down in the middle class, but not bad. My mom's very reserved and modest, though, and didn't want to be facing a strange man without my father at home, so she asked, without opening the door, who it was. He said he was by to do some repairs. At this point, my mom, knowing something was off, got afraid and just kept quiet. Nothing was wrong with the house, and we weren't expecting any type of repairs. My father wouldn't even have someone come by like this when it was just my mom and us kids at home. He kept knocking though, eventually more violently. My mom was visibly upset and afraid, signaling us to keep quiet. When he started to try to turn the handle and push open the door, I finally understood that this man was trying to get inside and hurt my mom for some reason. I got a knife from the kitchen and stood there, ready and deathly afraid. While he was trying to get in and yelling to let him inside, he even said, "I know your husband's not home." So evidently had been watching our house for some time. This lasted for a while, maybe 15 to 30 minutes. I just remember wondering what we did that angered him so much and being utterly terrified that he'd get inside. Eventually, thank God, he gave up and left. Of course, my mom called the police, but they arrived after he'd gone. They eventually caught the guy. If I can remember correctly from what my mom was saying, many years later, it turned out that he was a rapist who'd just been out of jail or something. Now I know why I have recurring nightmares so bad that I wake up drenched in sweat of someone trying to get in through the front door. Anyway, people, ladies especially, please never, ever open the door no matter how safe it seems.